My audio is all messed up today. You guys didn't even have a song. This was a song that was playing. I'm going to make sure that we don't have technical issues. Goodness. That would be terrible this morning. Well, let's see here. We'll just give it a shot. And hopefully it ends up starting to work soon. Good morning, good morrow. This is Joseph with the Poetry Studio. I am alive. That is the feeling, at least, being awake after getting to bed pretty late last night because my wife was in a show, a theater production of Steel Magnolias, which is an amazing and beautiful play. And I went to go see her in the opening night. The audience was socially distant. The characters weren't, but that's okay because it was just simply a group of 6. It was rather inspirational to see her up on stage. Hey, music! Yeah, I've already lowered it. Hopefully that will fix it. But I am just getting a little concerned because I have my second screen up here and has all the interrupts. I was reading your poem, Telamoni and Dan, actually. That's what I was doing with my morning before this. And it was, and I read through most of it before I got the stream started. And it was bringing me to tears, not just because it is a beautiful tribute to the outdoors and to the mountains and to the symphony of the music of the mountains, but it absolutely blew me away. I felt like you did better what I was trying to do in mine, and I love that though. I think it's fantastic that you were inspired and took to the mountains and created the symphony that and happened with it. And I actually was going to go to my messages to take a look at it, and then I saw that you posted it right on your Facebook, and I think that's awesome. That's really great because that thing is pretty. It's pretty tight. It's got everything together on it. It's a beautiful poem. Let's see if the technical issues on my end have fixed themselves. It seems that they have. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, goodness gracious. I got so nervous because at the beginning, my video was all over the place. It was jumpy. You can see here that I have decided to go ahead and until this changes, I've decided to edit my intro screen with the 7 a.m.-ish because I'm getting here around 7:15. I don't want to give people the wrong impression. I appreciate everybody that sits up here waiting for me when I get up. I have my coffee in hand. I did roll out of bed into the stream today, so I still haven't even figured out what I'm going to be doing yet. And I was actually thinking I wanted to write more about the bear today. I was talking a little bit about the bear that was in my woodsy poems. If anybody's just tuning in, I had a session writing in the woods late summer, early fall last year, and I wrote a whole bunch of poetry inspired by just sitting out in the woods and just being. So and Telamoni Dan says, well, I did spend all morning working on it. 3 hours, pages of scrap paper, and just a bit of hair pulling. Oh my goodness, that's impressive. Well, why don't we start off with a reading of that poem then, because it is such a great tribute to the majesty of the mountains, and it really will help jumpstart my morning. It is. Well, let's say it's poetry caffeine because it's so energizing. The lines that I was reading to myself before the stream, I am so happy to see that you were inspired. And LJ also tossed some more poetry into email to me, though I have to get the chance to take a look at that. I really appreciate what you guys are sending me, and I'm so glad that we are here together and that this space is doing what it's doing, which is helping create a moment which helps foster more creativity. I sure as heck need it, and it sounds like it's working for you guys as well. But yes, it is a good morning. It is a wonderful, beautiful Saturday morning, as bumpy into the stream as we get. Let's So to start, I want to read an original work by Telamoni and Dan entitled Music of the Mountains. Have you ever heard the symphony of grandeur as the fog curtain lifts, revealing the majestic amphitheater? Tree-clad ridges rising over a silver stream. The stage is set. The musicians take their places, composed and conducted by Mother Nature herself. The orchestra opens. The warble of a sparrow, piercing trill of a kingfisher, the arpeggio of melodies wafting across the valley, carrying the breeze, amplified yet softened by the symphony. A song of unrelenting joy, a flirty fanfare of flight, the feel of feathers, of wind beneath wings. Down in the gorge, the crackle of bushes herald the arrival of a new soloist, or seen grunts giving voice to love, the bass notes thrumming, sing of the care of a nurturing mother for her cub. Her deep-throated growl that warns of danger echoes the distant rumble of the darkening sky. The woodwind whistle of the wind through the woods. A steady drumming of raindrops beat their leaf-battering tattoo. With a crash, the cymbals of the storm reverberate, cascading with a fanfare of thunder upon the lofty slopes, a rolling, marching, upbeat tempo, a fitting coda for the day's rhapsody. As the night falls, more musicians take the stage. The alto sings of katydids and crickets entwined, with the brassy baritone of bullfrogs, accompanied a chorus of voices, rising over the ridge, howling in harmony. The wolf pack sings of unity, of community, of the thrill of the hunt, a sunset sonata, the nocturne of night. And through it all, the endlessly flowing river, rushing, splashing, gushing, a complex counterpoint to the crackling fire beside its burbling banks. I sit in silence, mesmerized, entranced by the music of the mountains. Telamoni and Dan with Music of the Mountains. Wow. I almost let out a little chuckle at the woodwind whistle of the wind through the woods, because I love that. That's kind of like a little bit like the construction that I was talking about in my poem, which was the reflection, the reverse, almost like a palindrome. Woodwind whistle of the wind through the woods, kind of going back and forth on that. I love that. That line was so good. Wow, that's massive praise. Telamoni and Dan says that, honestly, your streams got me back into poetry for the first time since high school. I'm so glad that it did. Well, I'm really glad that that's the case. I think that whether it is, like LJ kind of getting into the song lyric side of poetry, whether it's you just writing straight poetry, or it's people that are coming on here and saying, oh, I really want to hear something today. I really appreciate what's happening here. I think that there's verse everywhere. And I think I made this remark a few streams ago that we had a hip hop morning on the Akira morning show recently. And like the hip hop, like when he plays a Jay Electronica song, my jaw drops because I'm like, wow, this version's insane. So it's everywhere. It's Walt Whitman to Jay Electronica to us bumping around on the stream, to a bunch of high school students that are just trying to express things, to the kid writing the promposal. It's everywhere. And and even when we're writing technical language, like we can sometimes, I've seen technical language and articles written in a way that is very close to, I wouldn't say necessarily poetic, because prose isn't poetic, but it kind of has a rhyme and rhythm to it. To put it straight, there's a difference of reading, say, if we get into the philosophy, there's a difference between reading, goodness gracious, I think it's Hume and like, oh goodness gracious, I'm forgetting my philosophers. Point being is that there's some people that can write in kind of that sing-song of verse, and I notice myself, even when I write a little bit of prose, flitting into it. So I think that the prevalence of poetry in the nature of things, in everything, is important. So thank you for giving honor to that this morning, Telmoni and Dan. And LJ says you could give it to an alien who had never been, and that would explain things just perfectly about what the mountains are. Yeah, talk about the actual, talk about the poem itself and the content and everything. Oh my goodness, it is absolutely a wonderful, and like you go through the orchestra here, and you hit it all. And of course, he started talking about the wolf. So let us get into Doggo Cam. There we go. Our own little wolf right here. This is Max making his appearance. I do not know if we have the instrumental of Clockwork Elves in our library here. I don't know. Because his early stuff, so, oh goodness, I don't know if it's going to be in here. I mean, I could play it in the background, I guess. That would... Let's see, I can try to find it. But hopefully the stream doesn't start skipping on me when I go and I search on Spotify. God bless the computer that I'm using. I probably need to upgrade it. Telmoni and Dan is having a good time with my my snoozing little pup. Such wolf, so ferocity, much wild. Yes, indeed. He is a he is absolutely ferocious. There he is. Here, one more. There you go, so you can see. Oh no! Don't leave. Oh, he's not gonna leave. Good. Yeah, this is our wolf of a wolf. I wish I could angle the camera just a little better so that he could you could, oh, there we go. Now he's gone on an adventure. I need to angle that camera just a little better to be able to what song would you like from the you see, there we go, the video is skipping again. What song would you like from Clockwork Elves? Just I'm trying to think of which song is the one where he talks about the limits of language. Oh, Unfinished Language was good. I think that's it. So let's see here. It'll be playing in the background, but... we definitely need to get some more instrumentals of Terence McKenna.
For years and years and years, and I don't know why there should be an invisible syntactical intelligence giving language lessons in hyperspace.
So this is Akira the Don's remix of Terence McKenna talking about the limits of language. As with all the philosophers of the Meaning Wave universe, I agree and disagree a little bit with each of them.
Seems to be what is happening.
But I like Terence McKenna's kind of hot takes on the archaic revival. I'm going to get into some poetry.
Most remarkable thing we do. Chomsky showed the deep structure of languages under genetic control, but that's like the assembly language level. Local expressions of language are epigenetic. It seems that
Thank you again, Telmoni and Dan, for the poetry.
that is not finished. It seems is not finished. It seems to me that language is some kind of enterprise of human beings that is not finished. Again, this curious theme of the word and its effort to concretize itself. A language that you can see is far less ambiguous than a language that you hear. If I read the paragraph of Proust, then we can spend the rest of the afternoon discussing what did he mean. But if we look at a piece of sculpture by Henry Moore, we can discuss what did he mean, but at a certain level there is a kind of shared bedrock that isn't in the Proust passage. We each stop at a different level with the textual passage. With the three-dimensional object, we all sort of start from the same place and then work out our interpretations. Is it a nude? Is it an animal? Is it bronze? Is it wood? Is it poignant? Is it comical? So forth and so on. It seems to me that language is some kind of enterprise of human beings that is not
Good morning, Fool Killer. LJ says, I think I was here when you got Akira's permission to play his stuff. And that poem felt like a ride onto the classical music takes on. Very cool, push those limits. Yeah, it was really cool how kind of the permission side of Akira's music came about. I mean, like, it was one of those things where I started using his instrumentals a while ago. And he had generally told people, hey, you know, you can use my instrumentals. And then at a certain point, I made it like clear on one of the streams that I was doing that. And he was just comfortable with it. Thank you again for that request, LJ. Unfinished Language, a very good Terrence McKenna's take on the words that we use. And I just find felt language absolutely fascinating. And that was kind of the theme a little bit of yesterday's poem that I was working on. Today I'm trying to work on this Brother Bear poem, and most of the song I've spent trying to do research online about the fable that Alan Watts talks about, which about how you know, there's this, you know, there's a bit, you're supposed to, it's a fable of a bear that can read your thoughts, and you have to defeat the bear, but you can only defeat it accidentally because it always reads your thoughts. And Google failed me. And I was very impressed with the fact that Google failed me. Because, you know, you think that you live on the age of the internet, you could find anything. And it's true, you could find most things, except I couldn't find this thing. Google failed me. So instead now I don't know, I might redo these lines. And then Telemonian Dan tells us a little more about his poem. He had just 3 lines pop into his head at the start, and the poem grew from there. Her sighing grunts give voice to love, the woodwind whistle of the wind through the woods, and a sunset sonata, the nocturne of night. I think those are 3 of some of the most powerful lines in the poem, so I think that that is no surprise that those gave voice to the music of the mountains. And hey, I'll tell you, 3 hours, you said you spent 3 hours on that. You know, like when I was working on the poem about the typewriter in the Senate Hall, when you do like kind of a one-shot, you know, first, you know, you start with the poem, you edit it, and you want it finished all in one shot, that knocks you out. And I don't do that a lot. What I do is I take it in little bits, and that's what helps me. I wrote all this poetry 6 months ago, and now I'm revisiting it and doing one at a time on a morning show when I can distract myself with the chat. So there we go. Yeah, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this like this. Let's restart this. Sometimes you just need to do that. You need to take the paper out and crumple it up. Like the physical act of taking out the paper and crumpling it up is a very therapeutic act. But that's the funny thing is, so I'm going to be referencing to this here, the Alan Watts quote somewhere in this poem, but all I have is literally Alan Watts's quote about a fable that doesn't exist in the cyberverse, at least from what I could gather, which is really interesting. So it's funny how we interpret these stories. They kind of dive into, you know, like they kind of fall down. Dang, words. They get passed on, but they don't get passed on necessarily in their proper forms because it's like a big game of telephone. Still, even with Google. I guess a good start to this poem would be I'm just hitting hard writer's block this morning. Thank you very much, Telmoni and Dan. It kind of clicked for me. And what I've been doing is just been looking for, looking at all of my different notes. Looking for more mentions of the bear, frankly. But it's missing something. It's not bad, it's just missing something. And I don't know where I'm going with it. I'm wondering what the poem is calling for. Fool Killer found the story you were talking about. Hey, can you whisper that to me? Because I won't take links in the chat. I would love to read that. And if it's actually a story, I'll read it out on the stream. Maybe it'll stimulate the creative senses. Thank you, Telmoni and Dan, again. I once again hit another wall, which is funny. I was just talking about a wall. Because what is this poem about? Like, that's the funny thing, is Alan Watts has this thing that, you know, the great things that we do are really happenings. I am trying to get to the bottom of what I was thinking, which is like, I think that I wanted to be in connection with survival. Oh goodness, I'm seeking. There was something there was some place I was at when I wrote these drafts, and I'm reconnecting with it as much as I can. I'm gonna read this poem one more time, and then I'm gonna just put an ending in. Wood, my soul from my chest, shavings of every kindle of every fire, in case you kernels of mine tighten and grip. Ah, the two wolves story, says Telmoni and Dan. Remember this thing, you have two wolves inside of you fighting, and the one who wins is the one you feed. Yeah, I remember. I know that story very well. determined on this. So, shout out to Fool Killer who found our story. Yeah, and then LJ's talking about wolves climbing hills and finding the food on the hill. But when he wants food, it's there. Yeah, there's a lot buried in this. And I'm like, I can write lines, but they're not what the poem's calling. Like, I could talk about being one with the generations. Like, it's like I'm pushing the margins of something here. Because I write a lot of poetry. Not that that's, you know, it's a bad thing, but like, it's what I've started doing more so is when I write like this, when I'm not on the street writing for people, which I'm going to be on the street today. Yes! Weather's finally warm enough for me to busk again. But, when I'm writing stuff like this, I'm pushing on the edges. I don't want to write something like, oh, ready to be one with the dying generations. I want to put something more. I don't know what it is, though. I might be trying to think too hard on this. All right, it's good. The lines are good, but it's not. Maybe when I read it, I'll figure out what I want. I'm not really sure what I want from this poem. It's like you know when. Oh goodness gracious! Well, sometimes it's just the way it be, you know. So I will read the story from Fool Killer, and it may help me, it may just make me decide to change my line, but this is an excerpt from On the Theater of Marionettes by Henry von Kleist. And I did not read any of the rest of the story, but near the end of it, he talks about this experience where he was training a bear in Russia. This guy was training a bear in Russia. And here's the paragraph that stands out. When I appeared before him in stunned amazement, the bear stood upright on its hind legs with the back to a post which he was attached, his right paw raised and ready to strike, looking me straight in the eye. This was his fencing position. And finding myself face to face with such an opponent, I did not know if I was dreaming. But Servanji egged me on. Thrust, man, thrust, he said. See if you could teach him a thing or two. Having gotten over my initial amazement, I lunged with my rapier. The bear made a very slight movement with his paw and parried my thrust. I tried with feints to trick him. The bear did not budge. And once again I lunged with a nimble stroke that would have pierced without fail any human breast, but the bear made a very slight motion with his paw and parried the thrust. Now I was almost befuddled, as has been the young Servanji. The bear's perfect calm helped rob me of my own composure. I varied thrusts and feints, sweat dripping from my brow, for naught. Not only did the bear, like the foremost fencer in the world, parry all my thrusts, but unlike any human counterpart would have done, not a single time did he go for my feints. Looking at me eye to eye, as if he could read my soul, he stood stock still, paw raised and ready, and if my thrusts were ruses, he did not even budge. Do you believe this story? That's how it goes. Where else would one trade a bear, says Talmonian Dan. Yes, Russian bears. That's a poem for another day. Thank you, Fool Killer, for scouring the internet and finding that. And now, there's a little difference in my poem, because in my poem, the bear is an attacker. But in my poem, it's kind of a blend, because the bear still knows my thoughts. But one of the things I was wondering if I wanted to hit on this is, if the bear knows my thoughts, do I know the bear thoughts? Like, that's an interesting reflection. Like, I've seen it in superhero movies, where if someone makes kind of like that mental psychic connection. Oh, it comes from Star Wars, the most recent Star Wars trilogy. Where if you're making a connection across space and time to someone through psychic powers, sometimes they can reach back through the portal. And I kind of was having that feeling about it. Well, Talmonian Dan, it's your lucky day. I happen to only be wearing shorts today, even though you can't really see. But yeah, I just rolled out of bed. These are my pajamas, basically. So there we go. Wearing shorts with my button-down shirt. And if Twitch Hero Alex isn't here, he's going to be really sad he missed it. Yeah, that I literally woke up 15 minutes before the stream. I was just so tired. But now I'm feeling better with the coffee. You know what? Real quick minute. Almost done. I'm going to give this just a couple more lines. Wayne Dan says, yes, it finally pays off. All right. So let us give this poem a shot. This is Brother Bear, inspired by my meandering ramblings in the woods. And it's about a lot of things that I still haven't even figured out myself yet. Brother Bear, can you lend your claw to the necklace, the headdress, so that I may carve the deadwood of the soul from my chest? Shavings of kindle of every fiber encasing me, gnarls of the mind tightening a grip. Brother Bear, spirit of the stars affixed on your flowing fur, challenge me to the contest, reading every thought, every doubt, mauling myself. The roar of the cosmos has not syllable, it has tremble. Earthquake piercing the millennia of wooded stillness as you rush upon me, hunting with full spirit. For we created palisades and hunting balustrades to be the coward's arrow. Drawn on the cave wall in ecstasy. We never defeated you, we ran away, made fire and light. So what I am alone, waiting for your arrival. When I speak nonsense, and you look to me and see me alone, burning like a dying star, ready to be one in the fight. I am reduced to silence. Not death, silence. And it is here I hibernate, forced to wait to find the sunrise of my life. For I know thy thoughts as thine know mine, and our combat is more than the occasion of a single star with passing shadows or words in conversation. Emissary of the human race to the beasts who gave us this world, there is no contract. Okay, I'm going to explain what I'm doing here. For we do not gain until we are lost under the sharp blade that sculpts us with fierce and gentle way. Silence. So I figured out what the poem's about. And the poem is about how, for me, and it could be about anything. That's a one disclaimer here. You could hear a lot of that, and I know I kind of broke it up at the end, and you could go, wow, that poem is about the two wolves inside us, or wow, that poem is about, what it's like to hunger for something and reach it at the summit. For me, it is about how words. I have a big. It's a mental health. I wouldn't say it's a mental health thing, but I have a big challenge with over intellectualizing. I think a lot, and I like to think I could solve things a lot. But what I discovered in the forest, and I'm remembering it now, is that I discovered in the forest that the human capacity to think, and this is why I talked about the speaking in silence, and the word, it was not speaking in silence, but the last one I wrote, which was about spoken without speaking, is when you remove words, which were a human invention, which are a technology that does not belong to the forest. You get more in touch with who you are beyond the intellectualizing, beyond the solving, beyond the philosophy. That you get to your bare person. Pun not intended, but works. You get to the raw will that even supersedes below the words itself. Because we all come from a wordless society when it was humans trying to survive in the forest. And we invented words. The words are beautiful, but what was below that? And so the fact is the roar of the cosmos has not syllable, it has tremble. And so I started writing things in here. Emissary from the human race to the beasts who gave us this world, no contract, for we do not gain until we are lost under the sharp blade that sculpts us with fierce and gentle way. And I don't know if that line kind of makes sense here, but the point being is that you must face the bear without words to truly learn what it means to be a true human in a sort of way. And I think that was the point. So it needs a little work to kind of flesh that out, but like that was where my mind was going. So I hope that that was enjoyable of an experience. I'm kind of just in shock with the poem. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We had a good time today. We had Telmoni and Dan, LJ Gibbons, and Fool Killer here in the chat. I was working a poem about the bear, and it kind of got to a point where I'm happy with it, but it was a little bit of a contest to get there, because there was something below the words that I was trying to sense and having trouble sensing. We read an amazing poem by Telmoni and Dan, and tomorrow we'll be back, and I'll read some more poetry by LJ if you happen to be here tomorrow, because we got your email I got to read. Thank you again so much, everybody. We're not going to do a raid this morning. I'm going to kind of just end the stream there. Have a great day. Thank you again so much for being here. Really appreciate it, Telmoni and Dan. Very deep. There is more to this poem that needs to be kind of sculpted from it, but it's remove the intellect. What do you have? And that is, it's actually really funny. First type tells a clear story. Second type creates random imagery. Third type simply works for other reasons and can't be explained. That's true. Exactly. It just, exactly. Sometimes you just kind of hit it. Remove the intellect and words. What do you have is what I wrote on top of the page. And I think that's what I'm going to dive into. Poems are kind of like babies. Poems are kind of like plants. Like a flower that hasn't bloomed yet sometimes, or a flower that is blooming, or a flower that already bloomed and you need to trim it a little bit. I've got a poinsettia sitting here in the room with me that is just leaves shedding everywhere, and I've got a petals shedding everywhere actually, and I've got to trim it back so that it'll bloom again in the spring. Thank you again so much all for being here. We're going to check out, and I'll be back again 7 a.m. ish tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.